Free will, the intoxicating myth of human autonomy. The insistence that we are sovereign agents capable of bending reality to our whims. It's a flattering story we tell ourselves, an elegant lie we drape over a far more disturbing truth. The question isn't whether we have free will, the question is whether we can even comprehend what it would mean to possess it. Consider the architecture of your mind, neurons firing in elaborate patterns, an intricate ballet choreographed by chemical impulses and electrical sparks. But what governs those sparks? Genetics, trauma, the random shuffle of neurons adapting to stimuli long before you were old enough to even think. You didn't choose your parents, you didn't choose your birthplace, you didn't choose your childhood wounds, or the culture that shaped you like stone ground down by the slow violence of water. Maybe you believe free will is the ability to choose between options. But what if your preferences themselves were forged in a crucible beyond your control? What if the very idea of choice is just the brain's attempt to rationalize processes already set in motion by causes it cannot perceive? You walk into a bookstore, rows of spines stacked like tombstones. You choose one novel over another. But why? Because the cover caught your eye, because a friend recommended it, because you've been unconsciously primed by a commercial you barely remember. You tell yourself you made the choice. But your decision was the conclusion of a process that began outside your awareness. A flowchart of triggers and biases guided by memories and desires you never consciously selected. You might argue that awareness of these influences allows you to override them, but even that attempt to rebel against your programming is itself a product of your programming. It's like a puppet declaring its independence because it learned to pull its own strings. But let's dive deeper. Suppose free will is real. Suppose you could, in theory, act against all your impulses, your conditioning, your biology. What then would guide you? A soul? An ethereal force transcending cause and effect? But that only adds another layer to the puzzle. What determines the will of the soul? And if the soul itself is free from causation, wouldn't that mean it acts randomly, and randomness is not freedom, it's chaos? So you're left with two equally bleak possibilities. Either your will is the inevitable product of prior causes, or it's the unpredictable output of sheer randomness, determinism, or chaos. Neither leaves much room for freedom. Maybe, then, free will is a linguistic trap, a category error. We speak of making choices as if they spring from some transcendent well of agency. But perhaps choice is just the sensation of observing a decision already made. There's a theory, compatibilism, that tries to reconcile this contradiction. It claims that free will can coexist with determinism, that freedom is simply the ability to act according to one's desires. But if your desires are programmed, sculpted by forces beyond your control, then what exactly are you free from? Maybe the problem isn't with the world, but with the way we frame the question. Maybe free will is a mirage we chase to preserve a sense of purpose, to avoid acknowledging the mechanical machinery grinding beneath our skin. But here's the most insidious part. Even if you believe in free will, even if you cling to the notion that your choices are somehow unbound by causality, that belief itself was molded by factors you didn't choose. The architecture of your mind, the circumstances of your life, the whispered dogmas of your culture. So, what now? Do you resign yourself to nihilism, to the idea that everything you are is merely a series of chemical accidents unfolding in a deterministic chain? Or do you rebel against the absurdity, cling to the illusion of agency simply because the alternative is too much to bear? Maybe freedom isn't about choice at all. Maybe it's about awareness. Not of what you choose, but of the fact that your choices were never truly yours to begin with. But if you can embrace that truth, if you can stare into the mechanical void and find meaning despite it, then perhaps paradoxically, that is the closest you will ever come to true freedom.